Hey, welcome everyone to the Sketch Zone podcast. It's Carlos, and this week we're going to be talking to a friend of ours. Have you ever been on this show, Travis?
I was on with Roger and Dave from Chimirus back in the
Okay,
day.
Yes,
okay.
back in the
I thought,
day.
I thought so. Well, welcome back, and this time it's all about you, buddy.
Nice. Might be a big mistake on your part, but that's all right. Anyway,
Oops, my mistake. Everyone, just so you know, that's what Travis Overstreet looks like. My bad. I forgot I have complete control.
Yeah. You're
Well,
amazing.
welcome.
Thanks,
And speaking of amazing, let's say hello to Charlie B. Williams III.
What's up, everyone? What's up, Sketch on Nation? Happy to be here again. Super happy on this Wednesday. Yes.
It's Wednesday special edition.
Sure.
We'll get into that here in a second. But before we do, let's say hi to Jack Kasperzak.
Hello. Thank you.
How's it going?
It's going well.
All right.
shoulder.
Jack, I love you. Every week. You were fine. This week it was great. It was good. But then you did the.
Meh, I guess I'm here.
And then we brought it right back to the original. Nice. Great to have you, buddy.
Yeah. So, back to the story of Travis. We knew him from back when he lived in Chicago. And but Travis, you're not originally from Chicago, are you?
No, so I'm originally from Georgia. That was where I was born and raised, just outside of Atlanta. So got my start in Atlanta doing like ad work / a little bit of visual effects stuff here and there, and then bumped up to Chicago for basically getting into slot gaming, creating art for slot games.
He's a
Oh, okay.
Southerner.
Yeah. So yeah, I read that you had gone to SCAD. Is that right?
Yeah, so I originally went to University of West Georgia, which was just a state school or whatever. Got an undergrad in sculpture and painting, and then I bounced to SCAD for a graduate degree in animation.
Mm-hmm.
And I got about a year and a half to 2 years into that when I got my first job, and then I tried to keep up with it, but after that, it was too much. I went ahead and bounced because I got what I needed out of the education, and I was already working. Because I don't want to keep paying that freaking art school
Yeah.
notes and loans and stuff. So
I hear you, and then especially like you were talking about going to well, I'm assuming that SCAD. We all went to art school, and we know how expensive that shit is. So you went to a regular school, knocked out a bunch of work, and then you went to the art school. Did you find that to be like a smart move? Because there's a lot of young people, a lot of wannabe artists that are always thinking, "Do I go to school? It's so expensive." Like, what's your take on that?
I wish it was that planned out. I wish I was that thought. I was raised at a time when like they were pushing college on everybody, and they're like, "What are you good at? What do you love to do? That's what you go to college for." I'm like, "Oh, I draw every day. I love art. Like that's been a thing everyone's told me I'm good at. So I guess that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to school." I didn't even think about career. I was like, "Oh yeah, maybe one day I want to be in like I want to work on movies or animation or something." I didn't even think about like I need to go to like this school or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and so like went to undergrad, did painting and sculpture, and like I mean I guess like short answer is yeah, I think it helped, but would I do it the same way again? Probably not. And so like the reason I went to SCAD was I graduated, and even at that point, like I mean I wish I could go back and just kick myself. Because even at that point I was like I don't know computers like it was kind of in the infancy of like all these digital schools and stuff like that. So I was like I could barely open Internet Explorer. Like I didn't touch computers like besides play a video game here and there.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I guess I got to go to a school and pay like thousands and thousands of dollars to get someone to teach me this mystical art. So I mean, I got a good education out of it. I got good connections. I would say my undergrad helped me establish like my art principles, and I think that was valuable in that sense. Like, it taught me how to think creatively. It taught me how to problem solve, and then it taught me all the principles of art, like the foundation. And then SCAD kind of put it all together in a digital sense, and like put it into context of like the entertainment industry, and then gave me a lot of good contacts and stuff like that. So in that sense, yeah, it kind of all worked out. It just took me longer to get there, I think, than I would have liked it to. I mean, I didn't start actually working in my field until I think I was like 25. So like grad school, undergrad, working.
Are you still in communication with some of the people that you went to school with?
Not like regular contact, but so we're definitely aware of where each other are at, and we probably talk to each other like, once a year, every other 2 years or whatever. Like, we keep each other on Instagram, things like that. I would say, so yeah, like 4 or 5 people. Like, I've got friends that a lot of them are from Canada, working in like, games and film up there, like in, Vancouver. And stuff like that. I've got one friend that just started over Blizzard doing animation.
Oh, nice.
I think his first job was EA down in Florida somewhere.
Yeah. That was a good move, though, getting the hell out of Florida as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Like,
it changes you. Not the same once you leave Florida.
I went to Florida for Christmas and New Year's. Boy, I was like,
Felt different, didn't you?
Like, everything is 45 minutes away and 30 tolls.
Well, with SCAD, at least you picked a good one, in terms of SCAD. Top 5.
I had heard about SCAD. Like, I knew SCAD was a good school, and I had looked at SCAD for undergrad. Like, I mean, it was a thing, but like, I didn't come from a wealthy family, and like, SCAD for me a full ride. So like, that was just like out of the option, or out of the picture. I wish I would have kept playing baseball. Like, I chose starting in middle school. I chose football, so I played football, and then SCAD has a baseball team, and I had a friend that's like okay at baseball, and he got a full ride just because he kind of could play baseball, and he was interested in architecture.
Do you understand? Do you understand how? Boy.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. This is good.
Wait, hold up.
I found out SCAD had a basketball team. My first 2 months of college at AI, and it was like a pretty decent. I can't remember the guy's name, but the coach was like former NBA or whatever at that time, and I was like, "What?" And it was like Division 2 or Division 3. I was like, "Oh, that's totally doable." I was like, "What am I doing?"
Do you understand? Do you understand how much free education I would have had? Because I can ball.
It didn't even in high school. Didn't even thought to even put any of the athletic stuff when applying to art school.
Looking to go to SCAD, you want a scholarship right now? You should be looking at equestrian stuff, like horse riding. They have their owner, whatever her name is like super into horses. Like, they have their own stables and stuff, so they have like an equestrian team. So,
I heard about it.
That's crazy.
Actually, going down in a couple weeks again. The career fair is coming up. It's
No,
I heard about that.
How'd you like going to SCAD? Was it all that you dreamt of and more?
Dude, I was so excited. Like, it was grad school. And I was starting. Like, I was looking at my professors, and I was like, "Oh, this guy worked here, and this guy was Disney animator, and this lady this one woman made she was stop motion. She did like all the PBS stuff that when I was growing up. So like,
oh, sick.
My dumb ass. I jumped on Facebook and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna be in your class. Like, nice to meet you." Blah 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 blah. Like, get my pencils in a row. Like, just so excited, man. And it was good, man. I went to the Atlanta campus, and they were super solid. I can't complain about. Like, I did feel like So I taught at Columbia like one night a week, University in Chicago. And compared to that, I would say SCAD, I felt like I was getting my money's worth. I can't say, from what I saw as a teacher at Columbia, I wouldn't say that about Columbia. Um, I'd be a little frustrated if I was a student there, but at SCAD, I definitely felt like I at least got what I paid for. Like I'm still disappointed that it cost as much as it did, but like at least I could see them using that money.
Yeah. I'm still upset.
It hurts, right?
I know hindsight is 2020, blah blah blah, but I was playing baseball while I was at a high.
Yeah.
I didn't get not one thin dime. I got a lot of you need to go see the money lady. I got a lot of those notes.
I mean, honestly, like I feel like that's a lot of people, especially now. I don't know. I don't know how old you guys are, but like when I was coming out of like high school and stuff, there was a lot of misinformation and
Oh, totally.
The internet wasn't as big as far as like finding out stuff and like learning. Like it wasn't the go-to information hub that I think it is now.
Yeah.
So like kind of had to feel things out, kind of had to like kind of stumble, at least for me, stumble my way through it. I mean, I'm just now 34, and I would say I have the job that I really, really wanted, like out of school.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a while. Everybody has their own path. You get there how you get there.
Yeah, exactly. And as long as you keep moving in that direction, it's not a waste of time. You know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's just you stuck with it.
Noel in the chat room says Carlos is a dinosaur old.
Oh no, Noel's back.
All right. Hey,
Yeah, I played baseball. I played baseball before the balls were round. Sorry, Jack.
What is their team name?
The Sand Gnats, I think.
The what?
Whoa.
Gnats?
The sand knots.
Gnats. Like
Gnats.
gnats. Like,
Sand gnats.
Wait, for real? Sand gnats?
I'm like 99% sure. Yeah, dude, because like it's a legit thing in Savannah. Like they have like
yeah.
Like,
There's a lot of water in Savannah, actually.
They're a mild annoyance. I feel like it's accurate for probably the skill level of the SCAD baseball.
You're a gnat.
And that only
Mild
upsets
annoyance.
me that much more. I would have started every position.
So I'm not joking, man. This guy, I played baseball with him from when I was like playing t-ball to like all the way up until right before high school, and he was okay. Like he wasn't like the guy that played baseball. Like that's
He was
just
the guy on the bench.
Like, man, and I mean he's a good dude. He's a product designer now, and he's really successful, doing a great job. And like kudos to him. But man,
It's a good thing he found his way because that baseball would have killed him.
You couldn't get a walk on once you were there.
Yeah, no. I stopped playing in middle school, and like I was.
Okay, got
Yeah, so I chose football. I started playing football because that's a thing that like everybody's like, oh, you're a big guy, like you should play football. Why are you playing baseball? Like
because you Southern, and it was like football's life.
Like
you in
seventh,
Georgia?
you couldn't play till 7th grade, so I just had to watch all those all those football coaches watching me walk around the hallway in 6th grade, like licking their chops, just like, come on over here. I got.
Oh wow.
He's that country big. You can't teach country big.
Oh, dude, they're like, ball's life, boy. You hear it now. I just want to play baseball, Mom. Give me that mitt.
No, you know what's funny, man? I always wanted to play football too, but my dad never would let me play because I was like such a big kid that I would have to play like 4 years older than my age.
You'd be out there getting rocked.
Like, I can't
Grown men, children.
Yeah. Dad is like, hey, you got to slow down. You're putting kids in the hospital. Like, I can't afford this.
Or he would get put in the hospital because he get put in the big kids class.
Yeah. I was
Travis doesn't have the like like muscle strength. It's still soft. He getting hit by.
I'm not aggressive either, man. I just want to be out there because it looked cool with the pads. Little like Huey Louie or Huey Duck or whatever, just like walking up, being like, cool. Just get trucked. That's all it would have been.
That's hilarious.
What's a cool helmet?
Dude, I was never allowed to be tough. Like I was so big that no one ever messed with me. So like I just reverse bullied people. It's like, oh, you're gonna play Pokemon cards. Like this is what we're doing today. Like they can
Reverse bully. You're the gentlest bully.
He's like, look.
Now give me a hug.
Yeah.
So stupid.
He's like, come here, I'm gonna force you to be cool.
You look sad. Let me hug you.
You got to get your life right. Jesus. Hey, so then, you're talking to your dad and you're like, hey, Dad, so like this football thing is really cool and I like being big and strong, but I wanna make art. What was that conversation like?
Dude, I mean, honestly, he's pretty apathetic about it. Like he didn't care one way or the other. Like he would brag about like art stuff that I would make to his like my family and stuff, and I would hear about it like secondhand. For whatever reason, he would never tell me he liked it or whatever. But my mom was the one that was super supportive. So like you got that Southern mom and like their baby's special, and they've got something special. Like dude, I mean, kudos to her. Like I had a pretty kind of a heart-to-heart phone call with her, like when I got the job offer for EA, and I was like, yeah, it's like 90% because of you, because of like I started art classes at like 6th grade. Like she was getting me like out of school art classes. She was sending me on summer programs. That's and like amazing. Kind of like being, I mean, super supportive. So yeah, I was really lucky in that regard. Like I know a lot of people that their parents are like, nah, you got to be an accountant, you got to be this or that, but I mean, I kind of had pretty low expectations in my household because no one at that point in my extended family had been to college. So I mean, I could have graduated and like worked at the Jiffy Lube or whatever, and it would have been totally fine. So like, I'm going no matter like what I did. So
that's awesome.
So then you ended up at SCAD, and you said that you were there. After you graduated, you were there for a little while?
Yeah, so I started, I was basically going to start over and do another undergrad, and then one of my professors was like, you should just go for a grad degree. And I was like, I had no idea that I could go from like painting and sculpture as my BFA to, graduate degree in like animation or something. So basically after that first semester, I switched from undergrad to graduate. And then I got pretty far. Like I was about, I would say like 80% of the way through with my graduate degree. And one of my classes that I had my last semester, they had an ad agency come in and like help teach the class. So like they would come in on Saturdays, we would meet on Saturdays, and basically like we were creating like a short animation or film in groups, and we would basically like go through the whole process with this ad agency. They would come in, we would pitch the idea to them, they would give us feedback, we would work on it, and like come on the next day and be like, all right, here's our progress, that kind of thing, back and forth. And then at the end of that class, they hired everyone from my group, which is like 3 of us, and then we kind of started their. They had like a CG team that they started.
Right. And they're like, we need you and you. Done.
Freaking genius for like this small little ad company that didn't have money. And like, we can grab these kids that are like trained at SCAD, and like if they do okay, like we're gonna have so much more business.
They all give themselves high fives and pat themselves. Easy, best Saturday of the year.
We got all 3 of us for like less than 80,000
all together.
That's crazy.
That's what I'm saying. Like a bundle deal.
Jeez.
You get 25. You get.
I still remember calling my mom and being like, I got a job. I got an art job, and it pays $30,000 a year, and I was so excited. I was like, I had to wait tables and stuff.
He's like, it's only but good times now, Mom.
Right?
Wait, but up.
more than 30,000. I'm doing great, baby. I'm like, oh, man.
Let's go. I mean, in the South, I'm sure you were. You know,
Right? That could be baller money.
you in the
Chicago.
South. And what year was this?
Oh shit. 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're done all right, man. I'm been fine.
Good.
Yeah. My first
Dude,
job.
It took me like half a year at that company, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna apply for other jobs. And as soon as I had that company on my resume, like these other places, like, yeah, we'll hire you. And I came back to my company. I was like, listen, like, you got to do something. It's like, oh yeah, okay, like, here's $20,000 more. Like, sorry.
Oh, man.
Yeah. We would have
You're
gave
like,
it to
done.
you earlier if you would have asked for it.
Yes.
100%. If you would have asked for that amount in the interview, I had no idea in that interview that I could have like, yeah, I'll have $60,000 a year. Like that would be great. Like, I thought that was audacious. I was like, how dare like,
They're
nah.
like, nah, we're saving that 60,000 to hire your whole class.
That's 4 other dudes. What are you talking about?
Dude, accurate. I would have been, man, I'm such a people pleaser. I'd be like, oh yeah, no, it makes sense. Sure.
Sure. You're great.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, my first job out of school was at a video game company just outside Chicago, and they offered me $25,000. I was like, I can't work here for that much. They're like, why not? I go, I need groceries.
Oh God, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was it that took you up to Chicago then?
So just kind of like, oh, wait, I was about to say I just looked for the work. No, I actually got laid off. So I had the CG team for like 3 years. Actually ended up hiring like a senior guy who used to work at Sony. So he's actually a good friend of mine now. And he ended up being like a really great influence, like awesome guy. He's actually, I think he's art director at Turner Sports in Atlanta.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so they laid off the team. They decided they were going to focus more on, they did like media management as well. So basically they created this giant server, just as like all these other companies were like creating clouds and things like that. And so this like little tiny firm was like, oh, we're going to offer like cloud stuff for our clients. And like, I know we've got Google, Dropbox, like we've got all these companies to do it way better.
Way
so
more reliable.
They laid their CG team off, which was 4 of us. And that's always a gut punch, especially your first layoff. Like that was interesting. So anyways, got laid off, and then I just started applying for jobs.
You're literally just getting used to pissing away all the money that you're making now.
You're not $1,000 a year job. I'm just gotten used to that. No, it's funny, man. I had just bought my first house. Like me and my wife bought a house about 3 months before I got laid off. Just got that mortgage. Got laid off, and I'm like, she was at that time she had just graduated nursing school, so she had started nursing. And looking back on it, I'm like, dude, on a nurse's salary for like what we paid for our house, I would have had all the time in the world to find like the next job. But for me, like I tend to panic if I don't have a gig. Like that's just in my gut. I'm like, man, I gotta be working. Yeah. Every day when I don't have something going on, like I'm just sick to my stomach. I can't function. So like that's all I focused on. Just applying, picking up freelance gigs. And that lasted for about a month, and then I got hired by Roger Ewan's company, or the company Roger Ewan worked for at the time, the guy from Chimirus, Scientific Games. And they did mobile games for the team that I was hired on. So talked to my wife and asked her if she was okay with Chicago, and she wasn't super cool with Chicago, but she was cool with the job. So and because she's a nurse, she can get work just about anywhere. So we packed up and ended up.
Cool.
Sorry about that. Got a message. And then you said you got to Scientific Games. Isn't that where Julie, her last name was Watercutty? What was it?
No. She wasn't at Scientific.
No? Okay. I know a couple people that worked there. I just can't remember who it was.
it's a fairly large company, and they
Yeah,
had
it's
a
huge.
art staff, surprisingly. Yeah, I mean that kind of got me into the world of like slot games, which I don't play slots, I don't gamble, so like I didn't know anything about that whole world. But yeah, ton of demand for it. There's a lot of money in it, obviously. So there's plenty of work, and the expectations, to be honest, aren't super high for it. So if you're a solid artist, you can make a ton of money in slot games, and it's super stable. I won't say super stable. It's more stable than most other art industries. As long as you do good work, keep your head down, like um, you can work in a place for years. So it was good for a time. My wife, she started like an advanced practice nursing degree, which takes about 3 years. So I stuck with casino art stuff for like 3 years. With the understanding, I kind of sat down and had to talk to my wife at one point. I was like, slot games feels a little weird. Like it feels predatory. Like I'm kind of feeling great about working here. Um, so we kind of made an agreement. And two, like I'm not passionate about slot games. That's not what I wanted to do. So I was like, once you graduate, you're making decent money. I'm gonna, quit my gig and just look for, work full time. I'm only gonna take on freelance jobs that I like. And I'm only gonna apply to places that are like my dream jobs. And then all my other free time's been put into like portfolio work. Just trying to, become a little bit happier in my career.
Yeah. Can you expand on that a little bit? Because I know that there's a lot of folks. I'm one of them, and I'm a lot like you, where I panic, and I was always chasing the money way more than I was chasing the passion, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I guess talk me down from wanting to be sad.
No, I mean honestly, there. I don't know. I maybe because I've been through it and stuff like that, but I totally understand and respect having to having to do what you have to do to like provide for your family, right? Because first and foremost to me, like I want to make sure my family's got food on the table and a roof over their head. After that, then we can start talking about like my needs. But so that was kind of always priority to me. And the thing is like you kind of talk bad about it and stuff like that, but still like a job in that industry, doing art every day was still miles above anything I thought I would really be doing or like.
Uh-oh.
I think we lost him.
It was awesome. Back in a second.
Well, we'll just sit here and look at his stuff.
Yeah, so you put up his art station and his website too. Had some mix, but I think the art station's good.
Yeah. So if you want to check out his work, it's what was it? TravisOverstreet.com.
Overstreetart.com.
Overstreetart.com.
Yeah, it has all his work, mixture of 3D and 2D.
And he's on ArtStation too. He does both 2D and 3D. And I know, Travis, if you're back, just give us a holler.
Hello?
Yep, perfect.
Yep, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
No, you're good.
All good. No, we're showing your artwork, your 2D and 3D stuff, and I was about to say, I used to watch Travis do digital painting on Twitch all the time for Chimirus. And my man was crazy. One of the cool exercises that you would do, I would see you would pick random words and then say, okay, this is a logo for a band or for a coffee shop or something, and you would do different things like that.
So like one of my favorite things to do is there's a website. There's one with 2 words and there's one with 3 words, and it creates a band name. It just always creates some pretty outrageous combinations, and then kind of use that as inspiration.
That's cool.
Yeah. Those are always fun, those ones, because then you get some crazy name and you're like, what? And it actually sounds pretty cool. Sometimes you're like Savage Utility Fork or something like that.
It helps with it helps that the blank page syndrome. Like it helps you give.
Oh, totally.
And that's the thing that's hardest about portfolio work to me is trying to like narrow in and focus in on something.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a client, you don't have an art director, you don't have anybody, you don't have any kind of design dots telling you, this has to be done and stuff like that. That's why I think putting constraints on your art can help. As far as like, I want to do, a character that has this many polygons or, this many texture sheets and stuff, and work within these limitations, or even broader than that, and just say, I'm going to make a character that works in Unreal Engine. As simple as that. And, with Unreal and stuff like that at this point, like you can have tons of maps and stuff, but it helps to narrow your focus down so you know where to even start to research. Because if you're doing like pie in the sky, like you're going to spend forever just lost in research. Because you don't want to do something without researching it and gathering reference and fully understanding the subject. Oh man, they're still acting up. Why is that default? That is ridiculous.
I know. I got to find out where that button is too.
All right. You can watch me poke around my screen for a while here.
I like it. I like it. Pour some water on the screen too. I was kidding.
All right. Jesus.
You're good to go.
At the first gig that you said you had right out of school that paid you crap was that concept work? What did they hire you actually to do? Because I know you said you had the class project that they judged sort of, and that sort of was the catalyst that brought you in. But what did you end up actually doing day to day?
So it essentially depended on the project, right? So we would just typically get like either a lot of times it was an internal spot for like we did one for Verizon where they had their big like end of the year blowout show or whatever, and then it's basically come up with concepts for the pitch, and then the art director would go pitch it. We would get feedback, and we'd do another round of concepts or whatever, and then we would go into actually making it. And then, it would all depend on what we, made the concept as. Like, it's like, okay, we're going to need to use After Effects, or we're going to need to use Flash, or this is going to be 2D, or this is going to be Maya, It was kind of all up to us. It was kind of nice in the sense of, it was like being kind of an independent filmmaker. It was like, other than the shit art direction from companies and stuff like that.
Right.
But it was like being able to make little shorts and stuff like that. And because the team was small, we had a lot of creative control, which was nice. I would love to have a job like that again now that I know what I know. So it was, we really wanted to be like like the PsyOps or the Blur, the studios like that. That was the big end goal, at least I think in like our team's head. Didn't end up being I think what the company had intended. But yeah, so Atlanta is one of those markets. It's a smaller market, I think similar to Chicago. You kind of have to be able to do everything if you want to survive. If you want to really function in those and thrive in those markets, you kind of got to be able to hit kind of all the different areas at least a little bit. Have a specialty here or there. Go broad and then deep in one area. That at least in my experience has helped me survive in smaller markets doing freelance work. It hasn't helped getting work in big studios, Dream Job Studios, West Coast stuff. I think partially it wasn't great, but also at the same time it's just portfolio presentation. Knowing what to display and who to display it to, kind of being a little bit more judicious on what you put out there.
And talk to me, Travis, about then knowing that, and then moving up to Chicago, and then being at Scientific Games. What was your main role there? Yeah,
so when I went there, my main role was so they basically just title you artist, and typically that you're doing mostly illustration work with a little bit of animation here or there. I was able to carve kind of a nice niche for myself there because I was the only person on my team that did 3D. Nice. And so that was I was in charge of like all the 3D work, and which meant I got to pick the platforms, the pipeline and stuff like that, all the different software we worked with. And that kind of helped. It helped a little bit with job security, promotion, things like that.
Yeah.
Be a little more valuable.
And how long were you there?
So I was there for, I think, 3 years. I went from regular artist to senior artist, and then they laid off that team. And then from there, I went to a company called Every, which is another slot gaming company. They're downtown Chicago. And I took a job as senior artist there. And then I was there for a year. I actually ended up, so like I started that job, and then my lead artist quit. And then.
Because they got you?
Huh?
Because they got you. Yeah. Cool, I'm out.
It was fine. I had only been there for like 2 months, and she called me in the room. She's like, "Yeah, I'm leaving the company. Like, I'm gonna be stepping back, taking another." She took a job at Zanga. She's really cool. So she was the only lead artist, and I was like the only senior artist they had. Then we had an art director, and so I de facto became art lead because she left, and they needed somebody to kind of step in. So I jumped in, took the role, and then. A month after that, I had been lead for a month, just getting my feet wet on like management for the first time. My art director called me into a room and told me he was leaving, and so
because they got you.
Yeah, yeah.
He was like, I just need to give him a month to get his feet wet. Then I'm out.
Yo, and Travis is like, "Will you guys stop calling me into your offices?"
I'm gonna see go. Oh. No, so he quit, and then I was like, I mean, legit, I was like, why not? Like, could I do the art? Could I be art director? Like, is that
Sure,
a thing? Like, I was talking to like the head of the company. And he was like, well, we've got this outside hire we're looking at. Like, I was like, it's cool. So they hired an outside guy, which he was fine. He was nice. But about that same time, I got an offer from a contact that I knew from SG. That had reached out to a startup in the UK. They're like a mobile slot game company startup, and they were like, "Hey, we need an art director. We'll pay you X amount of money." It was a lot more than I was making then. And they were like, "You get to work from home." So I'm like, "Done."
Whoa.
Done. And I get the title.
Because I only needed one more year. My wife had one more year of school, and we already had this agreement that once this year's done, like I'm gonna start leaving slot games. Like I'm gonna work on what I want and what I'm passionate about. And so it was just crazy, man. That job came along at the exact right time, and I scheduled it to where it was basically my wife was graduating the following November. This job came to me the November before that, and I scheduled it so that I would get paid out up front every quarter. So like it was 4 payments throughout the whole year, but they paid me up front for the next 3 months.
Nice.
So if they ever went under or went bankrupt, I at least had, a 3-month gap typically.
Right.
Because otherwise, I'm like, yeah, you guys can, hire me today and then, go bankrupt tomorrow and I'm out of, my job and everything.
Exactly.
So it was funny. I mean, it was a great job. I love working from home. It was interesting because with every paycheck I got, I was like, all right, that's another 3 months. How many months we got left till I can leave slot?
Nice.
And when I got that final check, I was like, holy crap, the plan worked. If this company stayed around for a year, I made it through. We're good.
That's great. See, I never knew when I mentioned that was you guys' plan upon living in Chicago and stuff like that. So
a year, honestly, I didn't know until shortly before I got that job offer. I sat in on my first what do you call them, focus groups.
Mm-hmm.
It really bothered me because I felt like the people that were having the focus groups were people that shouldn't be gambling. Didn't seem like they had the money to be gambling, and the focus group was like,
oh man,
it's addicted. How can we really sink our hooks in? Those were the kind of questions they were asking. I was like, I'm not psyched about the art that I'm making, and I'm making this bad art to get people more addicted to gambling and losing the money they don't need to lose. I'm like,
yo, that puts a human quality to that slot machine thing. I don't think I could do that.
Hey, and there was a common answer. How can we hook you in? How can we set? And the answer was boobs every time. More boobs.
You know what's funny? That used to drive me nuts because we're in slots and it's an adult industry. I'm like, hey guys, dude, listen, why can't we make more adult games? Let's make some fart humor jokes. Let's do something interesting and a little more adult. And they're like, no, we have standards we have to meet. You can't show too much cleavage or you can't do this or that. And I'm like, wait. these are in casinos. Like these games are super, and they're like, no, we've got our mom and pop like judges or whatever. It's weird. I think it's partially because like a lot of old people play slots, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's a thing.
So when did you was 2D always the biggest part for you in being a concept artist and chasing that? Because I know the 3D just came naturally by what you learned in school and stuff like that, and you're good at it. Obviously, I tell people some of the best 3D artists are guys that can also draw and stuff like that. Anyway, but like, when did you start to make that decision through these different jobs you had that like, yo, dream job would be concept, so I'll do this 3D stuff, but got to keep the chops up. Obviously, I know you're doing that with 2D.
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, I've always been kind of like dual brained in that nature. When I did my undergraduate, I got I doubled in sculpture and painting, because to me, I was like, they're both awesome, and honestly, I would be saying I've got my dream job if I were doing 3D character art or concept, right? And that's kind of been a bit of kind of my struggle in a sense of like trying to figure out like do I need to give up one of these guys and focus on just 2D or just 3D or whatnot. And luckily, I feel like those skill sets are starting to merge. Like a lot of concept artists are using 3D. It's becoming more expected that 3D.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So it's kind of solving itself. Like that problem is kind of solving itself. But yeah, basically I had determined that, so I decided I was going to focus more on characters. And so I started in March of last year, just focusing on creating characters and focusing on that. I was like, I'm going to dive down deep into that, and we'll see what kind of traction I get from jobs and portfolios, stuff like that. And then I'll make adjustments, and from there, it's funny, man. Like, so I start doing that character 3D work, and then I get hit up from Nintendo. Oh, I applied just randomly. I was like, hey, I'm going to apply to Nintendo. Like, why not? Like, we'll see. It was an environment art position, and they were interested. I had interviews with them, like art tests and stuff like that. Didn't get the job, but then all of a sudden I got this thing with EA that started popping up, and it was a concept artist position. Like, dude, what the hell? Like, I started working on character stuff, and then all of a sudden all this other like non-character art related stuff starts blowing up. Like, bizarre. But yeah, so I just kind of decided like whatever job that I got that I thought was kind of going to be like the one that I was passionate about, like I'm going to start leaning into that a little bit more. So the EA concept thing kind of came through. It's an IP that I've always dreamed of working on, which made it a huge thing. So I'm like, yeah, I'm down. So I'm going to probably going to in 2020 lean more into the 2D side of things. I've still got a character that I've got to finish up. I've got to get my workstation finished setting it up now that I've moved. I'm going to finish that character out, and probably like March-ish, I'll probably finish him up. And then I'll shift mostly into 2D work for the rest of the year at least.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Do you get into animating at all?
No, that was one that like I love the idea of it, but the practice of it I hate.
It's funny how many 2D people say that.
Right? And I mean, like I love 3D animation. I love like blocking out the keyframes and stuff like that. But then when you get into like the minutia and stuff, that's when I start to zone out a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it becomes more work than pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder what that is. Well, I guess that's just like that's the part you have to love, right? When you're animating stuff like that, that
As
you
far
get
as-
into the tweaking in the.
Yeah, and as far as 2D animation goes, man, like you have to convince yourself that you love drawing more than you really do. Because you're gonna be.
It's wild.
No, it's true. Am I lying, Jack? Look at.
That sounds so awful.
No, because like,
really?
okay, so like when like all these artists that get insta famous, they're drawing a picture and they're taking like 3 days to make this one picture. And I know I'm exaggerating, but you could, if you wanted to, spend 3 days on a picture.
called a series. Yes.
And now you have a picture.
Yeah.
Ta-da.
Now animate, make that thing move. I dare you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that's why, and I'm guilty of it too. You take something, you draw it, you throw it in Flash, and then you move an arm like this, and you get it out the door.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny, man. Like you know the clients you get that are, you know their standards. You're like, oh, they're probably gonna be real impressed with this like simple crap that they think takes forever, and it's actually pretty easy. Like I'm just gonna run this one out the door and like get it done, get paid. Yeah, no.
Good, and kind of like what you're saying there. Like it depends on the project that you're working on and the client. Like there you might have a client that you might have a client that is expecting Disney, but they got like,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, they don't have Disney budget. We'll just put it that way. So yeah, like there comes a time and a place for that approach. You get something in, you get something out, but like if you're trying to do your own personal project and you're trying to make something that's one, meaningful to you, two, you want to hit people in the heart or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish with your animation. Three is time and money and all that extra stuff, right? So you find the software and the approach for everything. But like if you're trying to do some really good, unique animation, you have to draw, and there's a lot of people that don't want to put in that time.
No, you're gonna have to draw on your own. I mean, you're gonna also spend the next year to 2 years of your life working on that piece, like just
Or more. Yeah.
at least. And then not only that, like then you start getting into story, and that's a whole other monster.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
like write and develop ideas and tell a story. That's a whole other to itself.
because if you can animate real good, but your story is trash, you just got really good trash.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually overheard today through a wall. I won't even give hints as to who it was, but I heard somebody talking about how the studio is gonna get a teacher to teach Blender, and they really like Blender because it's free and you can do a lot of stuff with it. In some ways, more than Maya, and some things are easier. Blah 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 blah. And she was basically saying like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna teach my couple of artists to do this, and then like we can just do everything. We don't need a team. We don't even need a studio. We're just gonna start making stuff on our own." And I was like, "All right, pump the brakes, pump the brakes, son." Yes, you say that right now, but like, there's a reason there's like teams of 150 producing this stuff. It's like
Where's the Blender? Done.
And this is spoiler alert. Literally every art project that you get into is bigger than you think it is.
Always.
Every single one.
I mean, Blender has some really, really nice animation tools, but they're speaking all this without even opening.
Not to put anyone on blast, but this coming from the same person when you're like, "Hey, can you make that change?" They're like, "Oh man, I don't know if I have time for that." It's like, really? You don't even have time for your regular job. How are you going to make a whole animation by yourself?
Meanwhile, Jack's having to laugh to himself. Like
I was laughing to myself. I really was.
Oh my God,
man.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, taking it back to like going to school and stuff like that. How many of us sat in a room with all our 3D buddies, and all of us were going to do all of our own things, and we're going to start our own studio. And then when you get things rolling, that's when everybody wants to quit on you.
Yeah. Everything's rough, man. It's tough.
Yeah. So yeah.
I would never say the start your own studio though thing. But I would hear that a lot. But I think I knew early on coming out of high school with my parents running their own businesses. I'm like, that kind of scarred me. That kind of I got a different view of it. Like all the time, and I hear it, and I know it's a common thing with artists, and like, You know, thing, but I've seen another side of it, and they were successful. But at the same time, I'm like,
we're at a point where it's never been easier or more affordable to actually do that.
Yeah.
But because of that, it's never been. It's more competitive than ever, right?
Exactly.
To do that, you better be fucking top of your game.
Right. Right.
And you better have a couple guys that are nailing it, like to join you.
yeah,
And then on top of that, you better know somebody. Like you better like be able to
get that funding. You better get that. yeah.
Yeah.
Still need that seed funding.
Just like Jack shared with me a link today to the small group of animators. Jack, did we ever find out where they were from? That YouTube
They're local.
link.
Actually, she went to SCAD. Actually,
Yeah, I thought they were in like the
I don't know where they're at now, but
southeast area there. Anyway, yeah, I mean, there's this girl that started with a what was it called? I saved some of them. But this girl started out with a web cartoon or a web comic. And then she decided, I want to make this into an animation, and then built the team, and they just released it, and the video has 12 million views, but it's so good.
Yeah. I give it to SCAD. We pretty much recruit there exclusively for work, and like that's like my like little vacation away from home. But like every time I go down there and I watch all the different programs, the SCAD Pro program, and all the different and the students, and we've had 2 interns now the last 2 years, different guys, part of the senior class this year. It'll be interesting to see how all of them are doing down there. Starting groups, Carlos, like they do that. They like. And the teachers like really push it. The culture is super awesome down there. Where you're like, me and our director are like, oh, you can get this nice old house like right there, because the way Savannah at the Savannah campus, the way it is down there is kind of like the spirit of entrepreneurship is really nice, but more so groups like they just love building little small teams, and the students will do it on their own, right? Like kind of like, I don't know, maybe Jack, you remember this. I don't know what that school was. I feel like it was in France or in Europe, Super Funcom or something like that, where like it was an animation school and they're always winning stuff, but it's always these like groups of students that would like form that go to that school and then like enter in, and next thing you know they're at all the different like, film festivals. It was a famous animation school.
Should be Gobelins.
What is it called?
Gobelins. G-O-B-E-L.
Yes. Those
like, it's
crazy animals.
It's the same notion. And it'd be like, 4 of them are freshmen. There's 2 sophomores, and it's head by like 5 seniors or something like that. And like they're like killing it. It's like just a student group.
Yeah.
It's like cool when you see that happen.
I don't know. I feel like we're over a bit of a hump, and people are starting to understand school finances, and like they're starting to understand how not to rack up a ton of debt and stuff like that. So I feel like when you have kids that are a little more unfettered in that sense, like they're not graduating school or whatever, and they're not worried about paying a huge bill off.
Right.
They can focus on, you know what, I just need to make sure that I've got food and rent paid, and then after that, like I can use all this free software to make really cool stuff. And so they're not pressured to like jump in and start having to make a ton of money. So it's like it's a lot of people to create that content. It's giving them the tools to create it, and then it's giving them the freedom to create it by not like yoking them to that crazy student debt.
Right.
Yeah. And not to mention, like when we all went to school, computers were expensive, software was expensive, school was expensive. There was no real YouTube. Yeah. YouTube didn't get hot.
It's a bunch of our like DVDs and CDs.
Right. And going to the bookstore and finding whatever book to
$17 magazines.
And let me tell you, those $17 magazines that were expensive as hell. But they were pretty good, but they never really came all the way around. They would give you, A, B, C, E, F, G, H.
And they would leave out that last.
No, it's like A, B, C, D, X.
X.
And then, as
Like,
back
that
then, you were, like,
escalated
looking for
quickly.
punishment,
What
too.
just happened?
Yeah, a new one would open up, like, you know, and you're like, oh, I gotta buy that one. My silly ass was still like going to like Mitsuya Market and like getting 3D magazines with the discs. They were like, I couldn't read a lick of none of that book. And I was like, ooh,
dude.
Market.
Yeah. So because in that bookstore they had all like the 3D like creative magazines from Japan.
Yeah.
They would give you the software with them too, the same type of deal. But I'm flipping through the book, not reading anything, and then realize, oh, that's Max. I can then like looking at the pictures and trying to like figure out what they're doing.
Yeah.
Or getting those crazy 2D programs that are like kind of cool for to fit around with for a couple weeks until you'd be like, I can't read this.
So, did you guys see all the stuff about? I'm sure you did about Unreal and Megascans and all that stuff.
Yeah, free, and then buying them up. Yeah,
So a subscription to Megascans, and not only did they make everything free, they retroactively paid me for my subscription for the last.
Oh, did you do it yet? Did you do it?
That's
I haven't
cool.
done it for work yet. I was like, I'm just kind of waiting until it settles to see if the subscription, the new one's better than the old one.
I don't know how it works if you're using it for commercial work.
Yeah, because we've been grandfathered in, but I need to go out and buy that new one though. Like, how much is it now for just an artist? Like, how much do you pay? Well, you were already paying. How much?
Like $30 when I was paying monthly.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't
now,
bad.
are you yearly? Are you yearly now?
I'm whatever the free one is now, because like I wasn't using it professionally anyways. I was just using it for personal work.
Yeah.
I mean,
so nice, so yeah,
they've done some really. I'm really excited by what Epic's done. Like it's at the same time exciting, but like I'm a little nervous about it. It's exciting because like they basically like they've taken all the barriers to entry and creation, right? So they're basically saying like here's all the professional tools to make professional games, and then they're like, you know what? After your game's done, if it makes some money, give us a little cut. You know, we get a little bit of piece of the pie.
That's fair.
It's brilliant for them because like they're gonna have all this content.
the cut's not bad. I always was weird about like how they were making money because like it's like 15, it's like 20% of your first run profit, something like that. But like it's like if you're indie, some indies they'll come out and they'll have beautiful games, but I know they don't hit that barrier. And I don't know if it's just retroactive. Like as long as it's on that store, then as soon as you hit that, then you pay. Yeah. So maybe that's what it is.
But at the same time, like you know, if you have people churning out content, like some of those are gonna if your stuff becomes like the de facto thing that everybody's using, and everybody's making stuff on your games, you're gonna have plenty of hits that are gonna pay bills and stuff.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then all the other stuff they do, all the grants they give out. The grants are super crazy.
Do you know they bought or they donated? My blur should be.
To Blender?
Is my blur still on?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, you're okay.
All right, just popped up. Anyways, so they donate all that stuff to Blender, right? Mm-hmm. And then they bought and released not Yeti, but Shave and Haircut. My theory is that
I did not know that. What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
They bought Shave and Haircut and they put Maya for free. So
Epic did?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, a while ago.
Where am I at? I am so. That is the first time somebody's told me something I did not know about.
It's like free hair tool in your Maya, like a quality hair tool. And what's interesting is I heard from somebody that was working at Epic that they are working on real-time hair for games. So I think
that's why they bought it. Yeah.
I think they bought that for that. So they want to create the pipeline. Like they want the pipeline to be Maya, whatever, shave and haircut, stuff like that. But then I think part of the reason they're on this Blender train is because of Blender's new engine. Like their new
Eevee, yeah.
Seeing render engine, because that's like real time and stuff like that. So I think this is all in preparation for like real time hair in games somewhere in the near future.
Oh yeah, and they're gonna do an Unreal integration. It'll be a live link or something.
Yeah,
You'll be able to view. I bet you'll be able to view your preview of what it would look like on Unreal and Eevee via some kind of like shader live link, master material type of deal, and then just hit send to Unreal, which would be badass. Because no one else can do that right now.
Kudos to them.
And you can work in that viewport. That's the messed up part about it that people don't understand. It's not like in Substance Painter where you switch over to the ray tracing tool, or in Maya's like Maya Viewport 2.0. They just need to stop trying, or like Max's whatever. It's like you can switch over and turn it on and like do that one thing you always wanted to do as an artist and just keep it on the whole time while you're working it. Yeah, and then be good. Imagine if that's like 1-to-1 to whatever it looks like in Unreal. Yeah, like time saved in terms of like authoring your shaders the correct way and making sure everything looks good. It'd be good. It's interesting to see. Right.
One thing that so we were talking about Ryan Kingsline earlier. One thing that he's been saying and touting that I think is right on the money is that with all these new ways to create, all these new tools and all these like free tools and stuff like that, it's no longer about necessarily how good your stuff looks. It's more about who are you as an artist? Like, are you like being a visionary, being able to come up with unique and interesting ideas? Because everybody's been able to make a pretty slick image now, like a slick animation. It's like what are you actually saying that's different, or what how are you approaching things that tell us a different story?
That's so true. Well, that's interesting you brought up Ryan Kingston, because like we've been going through this evening your whole like progression in your career.
Yeah.
And now we're up to the point where I think we don't touch on on the show a whole lot. We touch on people getting in at the beginning of their career, but like you're now at like what you consider your dream job and what you've been trying to work for your entire career. Let's talk about like what you did with Ryan Kingsland, and then how did that help you get where you are now, and where are you right now, and then like how was that process? Because some artists are in between, right? They're like they have 4, 5, 6, 7 years of experience or whatever, or they're stuck in a market or stuck in the side of a country that's like a little bit different and a little bit dried up. How did you break out, and how did you get it, and how was Ryan Kingsland like integral into that?
So first thing that I did was I decided I was like, all right, starting in March, So I saw that Ryan Kingsline has a school, the Art Institute. I think it's one of the better like online schools right now, and they had a boot camp, and it was like a 13-week boot camp, and you meet twice a week. You meet once with Ryan, once with a industry professional or whatever. Then you create a piece, right? So I decided I was like, all right, I'm gonna do that in March, get my portfolio kind of a kick in the pants, and then start kind of trying to churn out work. And through that class, picked up a lot of I would say information in the sense of like creating portfolio work and curating my portfolio better, and basically how to brand yourself, right? Like a big thing that I was missing was branding myself in a certain way, and I think I still have work to do on that front, but it's kind of trying to like present yourself. I don't know, in the way you want to be seen, and not just throwing all your work up and just saying, hey, this is what all I can do. Being a little more focused, a little more intentional. But the boot camp specifically, it was like creating a character. And so like I went through like the whole next gen character creation process, learned a lot about that. But one of the things that stuck out was this idea that basically your next piece could be the piece that gets you a job. Right, so you as an artist, we're actually pretty fortunate in the sense of we're at any point one piece away from like our dream job, right? So if you can make that one piece that stands out and really catches somebody's eye, a lot of times that's all they need to see. That's what that's what gets your foot in the door to get your point. Okay. And so that's why one of the things that I had a real problem with doing was I would start a project and I would get to a decent spot, and I was like, all right, I'm kind of tired of this. Like, let's move on. Like, I would just finish it. Like, I wouldn't go back and say, all right, you know what? That little detail there is a little off. Like, let's really work to fix that and polish that and make it like next level good. because that's what it takes. So if you could spend an extra 3 weeks on a piece that ends up being like the piece, like that's totally worth it, right? Like why wouldn't you go back and
Yeah.
so that's kind of what I got out of that class. They did a lot with promoting me afterwards. Like they were, if you do well in the class, and even if you do okay in the class, like they will work their butt off promoting you. And they're actually doing something really cool with tuition right now, where I don't know the exact details of things, but basically the premise is you don't pay for the classes until you get a job.
Whoa.
So
Wow.
Wow.
That's a lot
really?
like, hey, that's a lot like what's it called? That game, the game engine that you were talking about.
yeah, like Unreal and stuff like that.
Unreal, yeah.
Well, cut afterwards. I mean, the
Yeah.
thing is, to me, it's a nice shift of power, right? So right now, art schools kind of have all the power, right? They're like, you come to us, you take out this loan, all the debt's on you.
Right.
We're just going to pass you along, and we're going to take a paycheck.
Right.
Yeah.
And they don't take any responsibility with portfolio reviews or making sure you don't pass if you don't deserve to pass. With this, it puts the onus back on the school to say, you know what, we're only going to take you on if we believe that you can get a job out of school, because that's better.
Oh, okay. There it is. I was like, how do they like instantiate this? Okay, cool.
Around. So they have to be more responsible with who they take in as students,
Right.
and how they teach, honestly. So if they're not teaching, the right stuff, if they're not doing a good job as mentors, you're not going to get a job. So they're not going to get their money, right? So it's kind of an incentive on their part, which I think is brilliant and also very ethical.
Completely.
But-
And how hard was it to get in? What did you have to do?
Not too bad. Like I had a portfolio submission and then I had an interview. Because they do that was before this whole tuition thing, but they also that's only an option. Like you don't have to necessarily do that. That's only, I guess, if you can't afford it or whatever. You can still just pay, straight out.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would assume that portfolio submissions are a little bit more stringent for that route. But I mean, like I said, I don't know the exact details. I just know broad strokes.
Okay.
But yeah, they were super good. Like Ryan, even personally, reaching out, making sure he's like, hey, how's the job hunt going? Hitting him up with feedback on stuff as I worked on it, even after the class. And then they promote you on their channel, do all this other stuff. Yeah, and you get lifetime access to their website and their Facebook page, essentially. You have
Nice.
contacts.
Wow. How big is the classes? How big is the school that he's talking to everybody?
Each class, I think, is around 15, maybe. Don't quote me on that. But you also diverge. So you all start in the same class and then you diverge into character or environment.
Is it one cohort? So is it just a group of 50 y'all for the year? Or is it a lot of different people?
They have different sessions. I know with the boot camp that you interface with Ryan directly once a week. So I assume there's only a certain amount that he's only got so many hours in a day.
I mean, he's sounding like the game art savior right now. He's talking to all these people individually, calling and following up. That's really crazy.
An Oscar to somebody in the game art. Dude's a saint. He's
yeah, he seems cool. Saint Ryan.
He's brilliant. He's super smart. His approach to things makes sense. Just a good dude. But yeah, so that school kind of, I felt helped my portfolio get into a better place. But then I had a friend that I ran into in Chicago. She was just visiting town, and she's working at EA. I worked with her at Scientific Games, and just kind of made an offhand comment. I was like, hey, well, if you guys are ever looking for anybody at EA, let me know. And she's like, oh, we've got this spot open right now on my friend's team. They're working on this mobile title. And I was like, okay, sure, I'll put my name up for it. And so she threw a recommendation in. I threw an application in. And within a couple weeks, heard back, started the interview process, all that stuff. Ended up, I had a phone interview, Skype interview, art test, and then the in-person.
How was the art test? How long did they give you?
I liked their art test. I thought they did a really good job with that. So they gave me, it's a mobile game that is kind of like a dungeon crawler. So think Diablo-esque.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And so basically they gave me a footprint of a map. and they were like, here's this section of the map. We need it styled in, this theme from this, this part of the IP.
Nice.
And so I had to like go and do research and like basically concept out this level. Like here's 3 options. Here is, what if this was a garage? What if this was a factory? What if it was this and that? So I presented those as sketches, and I also took one section that was like a mobile phone screen size, and I actually did like an actual painting to show like this is, and they were pretty vague about it. Like, we just want to see your idea exploration, and then we want to see like maybe a little more polished piece, and that's kind of all I got. And then they said you have, what did they say?
2 weeks?
A week to do it, and they said spend no more than 20 hours on it, which I thought was generous because like most places, they're like, a week, and I want you to spend 80 hours on it.
Yeah.
Like, just 20 hours. They were really respectful, which I really appreciated.
That's cool. It's always interesting to hear how they've evolved with the art test for that one, because it's been a while since I heard someone talk about one. So I'm always interested. So 20 hours, so it's only like a week or so, but like that's more than enough time. For that.
This was tighter. They gave me like a weekend.
Ooh, okay.
I had to make like a floating island with like a peach castle on it, and like come up with all these different. Because they were looking for more like a shader artist, so I had to jump into Substance Designer and build a bunch of like custom node shaders and stuff like that.
Oh, they made you build a shader graph in the weekend, huh?
Yeah. I don't know. See, I would love to hear like their notes on that art test, because I think what happened. So like I took the art test, and they're like, all right, we'll get back to you. And then a week went by. They said we'll get back to you in a week. A week went by. I was like, hey, just checking in. They're like, okay, we'll tell you next week. And that happened for like 4 weeks in a row.
Stringing you on.
Like, yeah, so I'm like, this is kind of odd. So I think what had happened was, so they ended up hiring a local guy. I think they were basically like, all right, we got this guy out in Chicago. If these other guys like crap the bed, then we'll pick him up. And I think those other guys did fine. So I think that's what happened, because I specifically was like, you know what? Because they said, you only have to make 3 of the textures in Substance Designer. And I'm like, you know what? I'm doing all that stuff procedurally. I'm doing the whole thing procedurally. Like I'm doing everything in Substance Designer, and like it looked just like the concept art. It turned out well. And then like I had all these different like materials that I created.
Right.
Well, that's why they hesitated. They're like pays attention to pays attention to commands. Right? F.
Right. Okay.
Overachiever.
Yeah. And sometimes that's good though. Like sometimes that messes people up when they try to switch it up in the between. I feel like at this point, if you're gonna go procedural, go all the way, because going back and doing it the other way, it's just kind of like messes up everything else. I would feel like you get into a groove. I think
Yeah.
And that's like the standard right now.
I love that node editor in Substance Designer. I would like to get more. Man, see, this is the thing. I need like 3 or 4 lifetimes so I can like choose different like specialties, because like I want to get into like the math codes and like all that stuff in Designer and be like, you could do banana stuff.
Scares me to death.
Man,
that's like the math nodes in like Unreal.
I want to draw. I want to animate. I want to do 3D. I want to fix cars. I want to make bread. I want to make there's a lot of things, and
fix cars and make bread.
It's crazy how
This is why I have existential crises like multiple times a day. I'm like, it's like if there's no afterlife, like it's totally unfair, because there's all these different things that I'm interested in that like take a lifetime to get good at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then to ruin the whole thing, like, okay, so you're born and you live, and then you pass. Hopefully you come back and get to be, a baker or whatever the hell you want to be. But to interrupt the flow, you get tired and you have to sleep. Like, what the hell kind of...
Dude, tell me about it.
On top of that, even if you do get to come back and be a baker, that baker's going to want to be an animator.
or you got to deal with the randomness of the whole thing. So in between that time of you finally getting to be that baker, you're an accountant.
Right. Hey, and that's assuming you don't come back as like a chicken.
Right. Right.
Well,
So
that's
it might take like a long time to get back to the human species,
Exactly.
and then only to be a janitor. Then you gotta wait
Yeah.
I'm not
another
gonna, like,
2,000 years.
And then you
I
sign up
date-
for another ride. You're like, all right, cool. I'm gonna sign up for the artist, and you're born with like no hands. Like, what the hell? It's just not fair.
using those feet.
You're
Oh
like,
man,
well, maybe
no,
next time I'll get it, and then
I always
I'd
think
be like a
about
police officer.
what's the guy. What's the guy that like loves being an accountant? Like, how great is his life? He's like, man, I love being an accountant. This is my passion.
Right.
He
Numbers
goes
game,
to work
baby.
every day, filled and happy, and he's like, oh, everyone tells me you go to school. This is how you become an accountant. There's so many accountant jobs, like it's not competitive. Like I just get an accounting job, and then like this is the life. Like
Tax season's bananas.
And it's not even like you can express yourself because 2 + 2 is always going to be 4.
There's gotta be. Come on.
Oh,
There's
the
gotta
people
be
that express
folks
themselves are
out
millionaires. They're like tax
who are
evasion.
living the dream that are like they're and they're just smiling. They're like, yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of expression in
They get
in accounting.
they're the
That's how you
kind
make-
they're the
that's how
kind
you
that you see
become
rolling
millionaire.
around butt ass naked on spreadsheets and stuff. It's like, ah.
I don't know what you mean that you see because I've never seen that.
you're not hanging out the right clubs.
That'd be a sight to hold.
Good point. Good point.
No, it's
But
all about
still.
having that. I guess it's just a matter of being like at peace, like with yourself and things like that. Which I don't know. I don't think I'm ever gonna get that.
She's like, what is that? I don't know.
It's an accountant's
Like
thing.
struggle.
I'm like an accountant right now. Cool.
Let's jump back real quick to earlier we were talking about coming out of school and wanting to get together with your friends to start something. And that's one of my bucket list items that was checked off with this very show. But you got together with a couple of your friends.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that real quick?
Yeah, so Roger Ewan and Dave Picciuto, Chicago artists, they actually used to work at EA. That's how they met when EA had a Chicago campus. They started a school. The idea is they want it to be more of a physical school in Chicago to serve the Chicago area, but they're also starting to branch out more into the digital space now, just because there seems to be a need for it. So they've been slowly growing that in the Chicago area. They've got they've been doing a lot of like 2D like concept art classes. I think we were talking right before I got this job about doing a ZBrush class. That's probably still in the books for some point this year, if I had to guess. But then also, I think we're going to be doing a workshop coming up in the next few months. I'm not sure exactly when or what the exact topic is, but I think I'm going to be taking that on with those guys. But yeah, Chimirus, I think it's spelled Chimirus, but they've got a ton of content online now, and they're just working on building up that content.
Yeah, I check in on you guys from time to time. It's just really cool to see. And for those of you that don't know what the hell we're talking about, Chimirus is a training and coaching team.
Yeah, mentoring. Yeah.
And yeah, so if you're interested in spending your money in the right way, quite honestly, you might want to take a look at that, because it's schools are starting to change their approach, and I think Animation Mentor probably had a lot to do with that. Where why is that there? There we go. Animation Mentor, they said that they wanted to have their hands a little more active in the path of all of the animators that went to that school. Whereas, the traditional school, you go to class, you get your grade, and you graduate, and let's be real, you're on your own. Unless you're a baller uh, student, which you're probably going to be working before you graduate anyway. But if you want to get into the digital entertainment arena and you really want to, and you want to spend your money the right way, you might want to take a look at what these guys are doing. It's unique, and all of them are in the industry. You know,
Yeah.
you
They
could
do
go to,
meetups and local classes too.
yeah,
So
very
go see a
active in the
meetup just to
community.
see how it is first. Yeah.
Yeah,
Lots of stuff. They tend to do like 3 or 4 like free events a year. They just like bring in speakers and stuff like that. It's always been pretty good. Good place to meet people too. I met a lot of people. I mean, if you're in like product design,
yeah.
they typically do a lot of these events in like product design spaces or like MoGraph spaces. So if you're like a motion graphics artist or product design,
Yep.
highly recommend like checking out where the location is going to be, because typically it'll be at they do Almost Gold a lot, which is a post production studio, not post production studio. I think they're like visual effects, advertising, stuff like that.
They post and edit now. Yeah. They just had an expansion.
Yeah. So they usually host a lot of stuff. It's a great place to meet people. And then I forget what the product design place is called. They used to use a lot.
Teams Design. They hosted there a couple times.
Yeah, that one had me become a product designer. I was like, oh man, this stuff's pretty cool.
Yeah, the couches and stuff, and then then my agency has hosted it a couple times too.
Oh yeah.
And CG Cookies a bunch of time too. Yep.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
And the cool thing is, we always talk about if there is one thing that you can point to directly to say this is one thing that you should do or that you should go to school for, is that networking. And you guys are actually offering that, and that's what all of these little get-togethers that they're doing is exactly that. Like that, you have to. Here, let me ask this question, because all you guys are pretty much ballers in your respective spots. Would you rather give a job to someone who's good or someone who's good that you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? I mean, unless you know me and you think I'm a dick, then it doesn't work out that good. But then I might.
Or are you good and you know of the person too? That's a big thing too. Yeah.
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 So yeah, I mean,
just trying to eliminate risk a little bit. So
it's huge. If you develop a reputation for yourself in a market, like word travels fast.
Yeah.
Like just be able to back up what you say, and be a pleasant person to work with, and
Right.
Yeah.
it's just a matter of time. You stay persistent. I always used to say that like the people that the difference between people in the industry and people that kind of gave up on it is just persistence. Like if you're persistent about it and you keep with it, like I had several friends that didn't get their first job out of school until like 5 years later.
Right.
But they were persistent, and there were several people that after a year or two of searching, they stopped and they went back and got an accounting degree or something like that.
Right.
And that's fine. Like if that's what you want to do, if you want to make money, like there's ways to make money. There's you can go get a job, an engineering job. If you want to be an artist, like it might take persistence. Like be honest with yourself, your portfolio, get feedback, know where you're at, and know what's ahead of you. But you could get there. It just takes time.
And I think that's one of the big things. Like I'm always showing Jack something. He's like, yeah, that's good for that's that's not going to get you in feature animation. That's going to help you out with over here. And I'm like, I have a realistic view of me and my skills and everything. So that's being real with yourself is a very good tip. And if you aren't there yet, like you said, don't give up yet. Get to work.
Yeah.
Takes a bit.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I forget what the name of it is, but there's an actual phenomenon where when you're new at something, it's really easy for you to not be able to tell necessarily how bad you are. Right? You're new to whatever this thing is, and then as you get better, you start to view yourself as worse.
Right.
And so there's a trough in that graph where like you're like, oh man, I'm kind of crummy, but you're improving. And then once you like reach like mastery, whatever, you're kind of you start to come out of that. You start to identify like, objectively, is this good or is this bad, things like that. That's why you have to rely on not only just your own judgment, but also like reaching out to other people for feedback and like professionals, people there. People are very amenable to be in contact online in this industry. Typically, has been my experience. Reach out; they'll typically be nice enough to like respond, and sometimes like give you feedback, and that's critical because sometimes they can see things you can't that you just are blind to.
Right. Or, I mean, the cheap, easy way is what you do is you hold up your drawing and then you hold up Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I can't tell you. I had Raph Grassetti, the last character I did.
Ooh.
I printed off Raph Grassetti's. He's a character artist at Sony Santa Monica. He did a lot of God of War stuff. Like I printed out some of his sculpts and like literally like put it on my wall like as I'm working. And the whole time I'm like, is it there yet? Like, is it? I mean, of course it's not, but like that's my constant reminder of like that's what it takes. Like that's where I want to be.
And if you're a beginning artist or building yourself up, take your time. Like take a real hard look at your work and take your time and get to where you need to be. Yeah. Stop rushing. Rushing is not going to make you any better. When you're drawing your circles, what are you trying to accomplish? Take a look at real life, take a look at reference and all that stuff, and just relax.
Yeah.
Just chill. You'll be fine.
It's like intentional practice or something like that. It's basically like it came from like this sports book. I can't remember the name, but it's basically the concept of like not just going out and just like if you're a baseball player, not just going out and just taking batting practice,
right?
Just hitting ball after ball. Instead, you're saying, all right, I'm going to work on hitting like low and outside pitches, right. And I'm going to work on that for the next 3 hours, right. And then I'm going to work on hitting high pitches. Like you're very focused about what it is. So like with every thing you're learning, you should be like, okay, or any piece you're making that is you're making it to learn something. You're like, okay, with this piece, I'm going to learn substance designer. Or with this piece, I'm going to learn substance painter. Even more micro than that, you're like, I'm really going to learn, how to use the curvature map to make certain things or whatever. Like, be very focused and intentional. I think it was like intentional practice. I think it made it.
I'm getting to the point now where I think to myself, I'm going to hold the pencil in this way when I'm sketching, and I'm going to hold the pencil that way when I'm doing inking, just to see if the strokes come out differently, and if they do, what is it about that, right?
Yeah.
So you're investigating what your body is trying to tell you.
Right.
And the more you do it, the more comfortable you are. And that's the difference that's one of the big differences between someone who's just knocking out of the park constantly and someone who's still trying to learn. It's the comfort with the pencil.
Yeah. And the other thing I've noticed that it's similar to that is the really successful guys develop a process, right? So like you should always be like when you're making pieces, be aware of how you're making things and be conscious of did this work or didn't it work, and then adjust that process. And keep refining that process. Like here's, when I approach an environment, I do a drawing, then I do a grayscale, then I do color, stuff like that. Like if that's your process, keep refining it. And what's really great about that is when you do that, it gives you free content to share because people are hungry for that kind of content. Mm-hmm. You have a process, like people want that so bad. And if you can put that with your portfolio, it not only does it generate views on your site or views of your work, it gets stuff shared around. It also shows a potential employer that you, number one, know what you're doing, and number two, can tell it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Because like right now, the game I'm working on, we're developing the pipeline for the game, and we're saying like even to the concept level, we're like, here's how we approach the concepts. We do step A, step B, step C, because we're gonna have to we're going to have to outsource a lot of our actual development work. So it's really key that we have a clear, concise pipeline that we can pass off to somebody else that you can look at and know and nail. And that's huge for a company.
Yeah. Anything to add, fellas?
Man, that was good knowledge. I'm like thinking about it right now.
Jack is like, I'm going to go back and start all over again.
Yeah, I mean, it's you have this kind of, I don't know, there's this tendency in artists to want, like, every piece has to be inspired by God. Like, every piece has to be this gift, this revelation, when no, that's not the case. Like, it's something you practice at, and it's something you refine, you perfect, right? And I think for me, like, part of the skill of an artist is being able to make amazing art repeatedly. Like, you know, it'd be like coming to Michelangelo and be like, hey, can you paint my ceiling the same way you paint the Sistine Chapel? He's like, dude, I don't know, man, that just happened. Maybe it'll turn out the same, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, that repetition's super important. It's like a trained muscle, and like to bring it back around, like to what Carlos was talking about with animation. I mean, that's how animation works. It's like, you know, like these guys are just drawing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and they become incredibly efficient at it. You know, building that habit and that muscle.
That's why when people are drawing, people don't necessarily draw that circle with a cross on it to be cool. That's part of the process, right? It's you know, the scratchy lines and all that stuff. That's part of the process.
Yeah.
You know, you see some young people that they're just like, they're putting down, say, the line of a body part, and they're like being super scratchy with it and everything, and they're like, oh, that's just my style. And you're like, okay.
Dude, teaching at Columbia, that was freaking 90% of my students. I felt like, that's just my style. That's just how I do things. Dude, I had a friend who's actually in Chicago right now. He's a Pixar artist, or not artist, animator. He's in Chicago right now. His wife's in theater school, so he's gonna, as soon as she's done, I think they're coming back West Coast. But he picked up a job teaching at Columbia, and you would think that, like, oh my God, I have like the lead animator from The Good Dinosaur. Like, I have an amazing Pixar artist that's teaching me, or Pixar animator that's teaching me how to animate. And yet he was telling me like horror stories of these kids being like, no, that's just how I animate. That's how it's supposed to look. And he's like, dude, this looks like you just pulled it out of step mode and just threw it in the cart. It looked horrible, and they didn't want to take any feedback. And he was like, he kept running into that over and over again listening to this. Like, I could not imagine like looking at this man's face who had like done amazing work and being like, nah, I'm good, man. I got it.
Yeah. And those are the kids that.
I can't hear anything, Charlie. Anybody else?
No, I'm not hearing Charlie. He's trying to talk, but I don't hear anything.
Oh, was he muted? Anyway.
Oh, I guess I was.
Yeah.
Here it is.
What was I going to say now? Damn, derailed. Those are the kids that you're going to have to sit down, not you, but their parents or someone is going to have to sit them down one day and be like, look, reality is
suck.
Yeah. I mean, man,
ego is better than your skill.
Yeah. You need to chill with that stuff.
Find a class surrounded by those people, with the majority of those people, you might want to relook at like the school or the class or something like that. Like I felt like when I went to SCAD, that was a rarity. Like, we would have like one or two of those kids in the class, and we just knew it's like, oh, that's the freaking, you know, egomaniac over there that thinks his stuff's hot and he's terrible.
Yeah.
It wasn't the norm. I did feel like recently in a lot of a lot of the classes I was teaching, I was running into that more. It was more the norm than not.
Yeah.
That's just because they didn't have any kind of portfolio barometer. to
Yeah.
to do it. None of the places had portfolio requirement. You have portfolio requirement, you weed out a lot of that really quickly.
100%.
But yeah.
All right, let's bring this one in for a landing.
Hey.
Hey, Travis, if people are looking for you online and they want to catch up to your artwork, where can they find you?
Overstreet Art on anything. It's overstreetart.com is my website, and then I'm at Overstreet Art on Instagram. Same thing on Twitter. I never post on Twitter though. I've actually had a theory about posting on Twitter. If I ever want to get honest feedback or even cool feedback on some stuff, I feel like I should just post it on Twitter. Just open it to the phone.
You said for Twitter got the cool feedback.
But yeah, that's kind of where you can find me. If you're ever looking for me, just Overstreet Art.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. How about you, Charlie?
You can find me a couple of different places. You can find me on my website, cardcollector.com/Charlie B. Williams. You can find me on Instagram at CBW3. ArtStation, Charlie BW3, artstation.com/Charlie BW3 is my portfolio on there. And then if you need to be inspired and look at the things I'm looking at, check over at my Pinterest page, pinterest.com/Charlie BW3. Get it in your life.
Boom. And the giggle from Jack.
Oh boy. Sketchbookjack.com and sketchbookjack mainly on Instagram.
Excellent. And thank you, sir. And you can find me at coconutjustice.com, Coconut Justice everywhere else. If you don't mind, if you go to youtube.com/coconutjustice, you will see my YouTube channel and go and subscribe there. There's a lot of cool things happening. I'm currently giving away an iPad.
What?
Yeah. Truth be told, I was trying to sell it on Facebook Market, and everyone kept trying to undercut me, or they would ask a question and then disappear. And I was like, well, if I'm going to go through this, I might as well just give it to someone who needs it.
Mm-hmm.
And
right,
then,
for sure.
So I did that. So all you have to do is subscribe and give me your Instagram account on that video. And yeah, on the 31st, I'm giving away an first generation iPad Pro and the pencil and the charger and all that good stuff. So that'll help you get your digital art career going. This is Sketch Zone. You can go to sketch.zone and see all of the other episodes. This is episode 194.
Yeah, getting up there.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And if you go there, you're gonna see that we're all over the place. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. Obviously on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, please do us a favor and subscribe. What else? We have a Discord channel out there too. There's a lot of really cool things happening on the Discord channel. We do a lot of art critiques and feedback, and basically imagine the show without all the web cameras. It's basically what's happening on the Discord. And if you can watch us live, Noel was here, and Sleepy Roz was here, and there was a few other people there that I'm not going to scroll through there to find out, but those, we like to have you guys be a part of the show too. So just come out, hang out, ask questions. We'll ask your questions and try to get them answered. If you cannot catch us live, you can obviously watch us on YouTube, but you can also find us on Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play Music, iTunes, and Spotify. That's right. So I believe that's it for us for the week. I think we have another show on Wednesday next week, and then after that we're going to go back to the regularly scheduled program, Thursday nights. Again, Travis, thank you so much for taking time. Welcome to the West Coast.
You guys,
yes, welcome.
Yeah. I want you to reach out in a couple weeks. Let's go get that wine thing.
All right, I'm down. I'm gonna do it.
All right, everyone. Have a good week.
Have a great night.
See ya.